They followed the rules, boarded planes, trusted the process, and now, the United States wants them gone. Families are getting text messages in the middle of the night. Unmarked visits, quiet knocks at 4 a.m. Immigrants from 10 specific nations are being told one thing: leave. Now. But why now? Why these countries? This isn't about expired visas. This is bigger, a sweeping purge already in motion. Could your country be next? Stay with us, because in the next few minutes, we're revealing all 10 nations, and the brutal truth behind America's silent deportation wave. Number 10. Afghanistan. They stood beside US troops, interpreters, drivers, aid workers. They risked everything for America. And for a while, America returned the favor, granting humanitarian parole, offering refuge, and promising protection. But now, that promise is being broken. Thousands of Afghans who came legally are being told, no extensions. No appeals, just leave. It doesn't matter how long they've lived here, how many kids they've enrolled in school, how many years they spent helping US forces. The new message is simple: Afghanistan is out. Even those with pending asylum cases are receiving silent notices. Families are scrambling, jobs lost, futures erased, and there's no clear path forward, no green card, no protection, just a deadline. Is this just about immigration numbers? Or is it a quiet shift in America's values? Because if even wartime allies are now being forced to leave, what happens to everyone else on this list? Number 9. Chad. For years, Chad has been a quiet but crucial ally of the United States. A key player in counter-terror operations across the Sahel. An oil partner, a military collaborator. American troops have trained on Chadian soil. Intelligence has been shared. On paper, Chad should be safe. But in 2025, all of that loyalty means nothing. Suddenly, Chadian nationals living in the US are being told to leave, immediately. Visa renewals denied. Green card cases frozen. Deportation orders delivered without warning. Why? US officials point to weak passport controls, rising political instability, and lack of cooperation in accepting deported nationals. But for the thousands of Chadians living here, students, skilled workers, even asylum seekers, none of this makes sense. They followed the rules. They checked every box. And now, they're being told they're no longer welcome. Some are just months away from finishing college degrees. Others have built lives, jobs, and families over years of lawful presence. Now they face a chilling choice: self-deport or be removed by force. And there's no way to appeal. This isn't just a policy shift. It's a total shutdown. All visas suspended. No new entries allowed. The US door isn't just closing for Chad, it's being locked from the inside. And here's the part no one is talking about. There was no major announcement. No debate. No media storm. Just quiet notices, sudden orders, and confusion that turns to fear overnight. So the question lingers: what changed? Why blacklist a nation still working with US forces to fight regional terror? Some say it's about internal US enforcement optics. Others believe it's a warning to nations not complying with deportation demands. But for Chadians in the US, it feels like punishment without explanation. If even a cooperating counter-terror partner can be targeted like this, who's really safe? Number 8. Republic of the Congo. There was no press conference. No late-night headline. No viral video. Just silence. And then, the quiet departures began. One by one, Congolese nationals in the United States started receiving unmarked envelopes. Some by mail, others handed quietly by immigration officers. Inside, a notice. No appeal. No delay. You are being removed. For many, it didn't make sense. No criminal record. No immigration violations. They had jobs, families. Some had been in the US for over a decade. Yet suddenly, their entire legal status was ripped away, without warning. So what happened? Behind the scenes, US immigration officials had been negotiating with the Republic of the Congo for years, urging the government to take back its deported citizens. But Congo pushed back, failed to issue travel documents, refused to verify identities, ignored flight arrangements. Washington called it a pattern of non-cooperation, and then invoked one of the harshest tools in its legal arsenal, Section 243(d) of the Immigration and Nationality Act. This law allows the US to suspend all visas to a country that refuses to accept its own nationals. Not just for undocumented immigrants, but for everyone. Tourists, students, workers, even those on a legal path to a green card. And just like that, Congo was blacklisted. The impact? Devastating. People who had applied for permanent residency, frozen. Students about to start college, blocked. Long-time residents, ordered to leave, sometimes with only days' notice. There are Congolese families in places like Texas, New York, and Minnesota right now packing their belongings into suitcases, not because they broke the law, but because a diplomatic failure hundreds of miles away has made them politically inconvenient. Some are being forced to leave behind children who are US citizens. Others are being sent to a country they barely remember, where they have no home, no job, no safety net. And perhaps most disturbing, no one is talking about it. There's no mainstream outrage, no nightly news coverage, because Congo is quiet, uncontroversial, easy to ignore, but that's exactly what makes this moment dangerous. Because what's happening to Congolese immigrants isn't about individual wrongdoing. It's about being from the wrong passport group at the wrong time. And now, they're paying the price. Some immigration advocates are calling it a silent purge, a reset of US immigration policy that uses obscure laws and closed-door decisions to quietly remove entire communities without public scrutiny. And if Congo, a country with no war, no mass migration, and no media spotlight, can land on this list, who's next? Because in today's America, silence is not protection. It's a signal that the system is moving, quietly, quickly, and without remorse. And once you're on the list, the countdown begins. Number 7. Equatorial Guinea. Oil-rich, politically silent, nearly invisible to the West. But in 2025, that silence has consequences. For years, the US tried to deport nationals from Equatorial Guinea. But the response from the government? Total refusal, no cooperation, no paperwork, no flights accepted. So now, the US is hitting back, hard. Under Section 243(d) of immigration law, the penalty is severe: visa bans, deportation orders, frozen green card applications. It's not just for criminals or overstays. This impacts students, workers, families who followed every legal step. Even parents of American-born children are being told, there are no more exceptions. You must leave. And it's happening fast, without noise, without headlines. No press conferences, no national debate, just quiet notices, one by one, across the country. This isn't just immigration enforcement. It's geopolitical punishment, delivered through the lives of ordinary people. And if a small, quiet nation like Equatorial Guinea can end up on this list with no warning, how many more are coming next? Number 6. Eritrea. They call it the North Korea of Africa. A nation sealed tight with fear, ruled by force, and built on silence. No free press, no political opposition, no legal way out. For decades, Eritreans fled that silence, escaping forced military service, indefinite conscription, and state surveillance. Some made it to the United States, legally. They built lives, started families, applied for asylum. They thought they were finally safe. But in 2025, that illusion shattered. Across the US, Eritrean nationals are receiving silent orders: leave, or be removed. No warning, no explanation, just letters, visits, a knock on the door before sunrise. Why? Because Eritrea refuses to cooperate with deportation efforts. It won't issue travel documents, won't approve return flights, it won't even acknowledge its own citizens. And under US immigration law, that kind of defiance comes with a heavy cost. Section 243(d). The result? All visas, immigrant and non-immigrant, are now suspended. No green cards, no renewals, no new entries. Even long-term residents, refugees, and asylum seekers are being swept up. The most vulnerable, people who risked everything to escape a dictatorship, now face an impossible choice: return to repression, or risk detention and deportation here. And for many, going back isn't just relocation, it's a potential death sentence. Eritrea is one of the most secretive and brutal regimes in the world. Dissenters disappear, returnees are detained, there is no due process, no safety net, no escape once you're back. Yet here in America, families who followed every rule are being told they have no future. No path to stay, no protection left, and it's all happening in silence. No coverage, no protests, just quiet removals, and closed doors. If a community as vulnerable as the Eritreans can be targeted like this, what does that say about where US immigration is headed? Because this isn't just about Eritrea. It's about a system that's now removing people not because they've broken laws, but because their governments did. And in that equation, the ones who suffer most are the ones who've already lost everything. Number 5. Haiti. They came fleeing chaos, burning barricades, armed gangs, hospitals collapsing in smoke. For hundreds of thousands of Haitians, the United States wasn't just a destination, it was their last hope. Some arrived on rafts, others on foot through the southern border. Many came legally, through humanitarian parole, granted by the US government during moments of crisis. They found jobs, sent their kids to school. They followed the rules. But in 2025, those rules have changed. And the door is now slamming shut. Over 500,000 Haitians who were previously welcomed under emergency protections are now receiving notices, self-deport, or face ICE. The Biden administration's parole program, once seen as a humanitarian gesture, is now being reversed. Quietly, systematically, people who were told they could stay temporarily are now being told, there is no future here. No pathway to residency, no protection from raids, no renewal process, just a deadline, and what awaits them if they go back? A nation on the brink. Haiti's government has collapsed. Its capital is controlled by armed gangs. Food and fuel are rationed by violence. Hospitals have been burned, schools shut down, roads are mined, airports barely function, and yet, deportation flights are already scheduled. Planes are being filled, orders are being enforced. Some of those targeted have US-born children. Others are caregivers, construction workers, restaurant employees. They've spent years rebuilding their lives, only to now face arrest, detention, and forced removal. And there's no safety waiting for them back in Port-au-Prince. No state to help, no shelter to land in, no law to protect them. This isn't immigration enforcement, this is abandonment, a cold rollback of compassion, executed in silence while the world looks away. The message is clear: even if you came here legally, even if your home country is in collapse, you can still be sent back. So the question becomes, if Haiti, with all its suffering, is no longer worth protecting, who will be next? Because this isn't just a shift in immigration, it's a shift in conscience. And it's already happening. Number 4. Iran. Fleeing a dictatorship was never supposed to lead here. But for thousands of Iranians in the United States, freedom has once again become a fragile illusion. They escaped brutal crackdowns, risked their lives opposing a regime known for executions, torture, and surveillance. They came to the US seeking safety, as students, activists, asylum seekers, and dissidents. And for a while, they found it. They enrolled in universities, spoke out without fear, started families, applied for green cards. Some became the voice of a new Iranian diaspora. But in 2025, that protection is being stripped away. All visas from Iran, suspended. Immigrant and non-immigrant. No student permits. No work visas. No family reunifications. Even those already living legally in the US are suddenly frozen in place. Green card applicants, on hold. Asylum seekers, under review. Long-term residents, now at risk. And for many, the threat isn't just deportation. It's death. Because return to Iran isn't a routine flight. It's being sent back into the hands of a government that crushes opposition, targets returnees, and uses fear as policy. Students who posted criticism online now face arrest. Former asylum seekers risk indefinite detention. Activists, even those with US connections, have already disappeared after forced returns. So why is this happening? According to US officials, Iran has refused to cooperate with deportation proceedings. They won't issue travel documents. They won't respond to requests. They won't engage. So the US responded with Section 243D. Shutting down visas and stepping up quiet removals. But this isn't about enforcement. This is geopolitics, played out through human lives. Washington is sending a message to Tehran. But the people caught in the crossfire are those who already fled. And they're now stranded in limbo. Not welcome here, not safe there, stuck between two governments, and claimed by neither. This isn't immigration policy. This is a punishment, delivered not to a regime, but to the very people who opposed it. And if Iranian dissidents can be targeted like this, who else will America give up next? Because once human rights become a bargaining chip, nobody is truly protected. Number 3. Libya. No functioning government. No central airport. No one to receive you. So how do you go home to a place that's barely a country? This is the impossible question facing thousands of Libyans in the United States. And the answer from immigration officials in 2025: leave anyway. Libya has been a collapsed state for over a decade, torn apart by civil war, rival militias, and a power vacuum so deep that even the US embassy shut down and fled years ago. And yet today, US immigration authorities are ramping up deportations of Libyan nationals, quietly, forcefully, without a safety net. Student visas revoked, green card renewals blocked, asylum claims backlogged or ignored. Even those who've been here for years, with clean records, jobs, and US-born children, are suddenly under pressure to self-deport or face arrest. ICE is knocking, quietly, before sunrise. Families are vanishing from communities with no warning. Flights are being arranged to nowhere safe. But here's the brutal truth: returning to Libya is not deportation. It's danger. Entire airports are controlled by armed factions. Kidnapping is common. Foreign returnees are seen as targets or traitors. There is no stable government. No functioning asylum process. In some areas, stepping off the plane means stepping into crossfire. And the US knows this. Officials admit that Libya doesn't cooperate with deportation requests. They can't verify documents. They don't coordinate returns. That's what triggered Section 243(d), the same hardline legal tool used to pressure non-compliant governments through full-scale visa bans and forced removals. But what makes Libya different is this: there's no one on the other side. No consulate, no embassy, no system, just a broken state, and people now being sent back to it anyway. So what does deportation mean in a situation like this? It means being left in an airport surrounded by armed men. It means having no ID, no contacts, no government support. It means trying to survive in a country where rule of law no longer exists. And yet, the removals continue. Not loudly, not on headlines, but quietly, one knock, one flight, one vanished family at a time. The message is chilling. Even if your country has no government, the US will still send you back. This isn't policy, it's abandonment, in the purest, coldest sense. And if America is willing to deport people to a collapsed state with no safety net, what does that say about who we are, and what comes next? Number 2. Myanmar. They escaped genocide, fled villages set on fire, saw families disappear, endured military raids, torture, and ethnic cleansing. And for a brief moment, it seemed they had made it out. Rohingya Muslims, political dissidents, students, survivors. They reached the United States not for opportunity, but for survival. Some came through refugee programs. Others filed for asylum, hoping that the US, a country that once condemned the Myanmar regime, would protect him from being forced back into the fire. But now, in 2025, those hopes are collapsing. The United States has begun issuing quiet orders. Leave now. No press releases. No televised policy changes. Just silent removals and frozen cases, under the shadow of Section 243(d). Why? Because Myanmar's military junta, the very regime responsible for the atrocities, refuses to accept deportees. No return coordination, no travel documents, no cooperation, and in response, the US has activated one of its harshest immigration tools: visa bans, case suspensions, and targeted removals. It doesn't matter if you have a hearing pending. It doesn't matter if you're a student, a mother, or someone who's waited years in legal limbo. There are no second chances. And let's be clear, returning to Myanmar isn't deportation. It's a potential death sentence. For Rohingya Muslims, it's being sent back to a system that never recognized your citizenship, that hunted your people, erased your villages, and left thousands buried in mass graves. For political activists and former protesters, it's worse. Surveillance, interrogation, disappearance. The same military that opened fire on peaceful demonstrations is still in power. And returnees are often detained on arrival, or simply vanish. Yet despite all of this, removal orders are being issued. Some in detention centers, some by mail, some without the chance to say goodbye. There are no mainstream headlines. No protests outside immigration courts. Just a quiet rollback of humanity, buried under bureaucracy. And the message is unmistakable. Even if you escape genocide, even if your life is in danger, you can still be sent back. This isn't just a failure of immigration policy. It's a failure of memory, of morality, of conscience. Because if the US can deport people back into the arms of the same generals who tried to wipe them out, what does that say about the line between safety and sacrifice? And if Myanmar is no longer protected, how long before no one is? Number 1. Somalia. No embassy, no passport system, no central government. And yet, Somali nationals in the United States are being told, pack your bags. You're going back. But back to where? To Mogadishu, a city fractured by warlords, armed militias, and al-Shabaab militants. A place where even the US military has declared regions non-permissive zones. A place where the rule of law does not exist, only power by the barrel of a gun. For many Somalis, this isn't just cruel, it's incomprehensible. Some arrived in the US as children, decades ago. They grew up here, went to school here, became neighbors, employees, business owners, parents. America is the only home they know. And now, they're being told to board deportation flights to a country they barely remember, or have never seen. They have no family there, no papers, no protection, and Somalia isn't prepared to receive them, because it can't. There's no centralized passport authority, no national ID database, no return coordination team. For years, the Somali government has told the US the truth. We can't take them back. We don't know who they are. But now, in 2025, the US isn't waiting for cooperation. They've invoked Section 243(d), triggering a full visa shutdown and ramping up removals anyway. ICE has already begun detaining Somali nationals, quietly, without headlines. Green card renewals are being denied. Work permits are expiring without notice. Entire families are being pulled apart overnight. Some are being dropped off in Mogadishu with no documentation, no translator, no money. Just a bag and a goodbye. Others are placed in danger immediately, targeted by extremist groups who view returnees from the West as enemies, spies, or outsiders. The most chilling part, the US government knows this. They know Somalia is a broken state. They know there's no safety net. And still, they send people back. This isn't immigration enforcement. It's abandonment by design. A country that once offered shelter to those fleeing civil war is now sending them back to the wreckage, as if the years they spent rebuilding their lives here never mattered at all. And what does that say, when even people who've lived in America longer than they lived in Somalia can be thrown into the dark, alone, with no way back? What we're seeing now with Somalia isn't an accident. It's a signal, a terrifying one. If you're not useful, you're removable. And if the US can deport people to a place without a government, then no one is truly safe. This isn't just a list. It's a turning point. 10 countries, thousands of families, all swept up in a crackdown unfolding in silence. No press briefings, no court hearings, just quiet removals, as the world looks away. If it can happen to wartime allies, to legal visa holders, to families with American-born children, then no one is truly safe. So if this opened your eyes, like, share, subscribe, because the only way to fight silence is with truth. And what's coming next may be even more devastating.